This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to be going underground, trying to get some artifacts, and doing it without making a lot of noise. Because if you make a lot of clank, the dragon's coming out. Today we're going to be going underwater. We're going to be seeing mermaids and trying to use Scuba Kit, and we're going to be trying to do it quickly and getting out. This is Clank Sunken Treasures. This is the expansion to the popular deck building game Clank. It's for Renegade Game Studios. It's for 2 to 4 players. Takes about 60 minutes. Let me show you what's in this, how it plays, and I'll see you on the other side. When setting up Sunken Treasures, you'll probably want to use the new board that comes with it. It's not mandatory, you can still use many of the other components in this expansion, but you'll probably want to use it. You can select either side of the board. This one shows a pirate ship in the top right of the board, and the other side shows that pirate ship close by where you're getting off it and delving underneath. You'll add the 2 new minor secrets to the minor secret stash before starting, and the 1 major secret. Now I'll just go over this briefly since you already know how these work. This just gives you 2 coins whenever you like to spend, or they're worth points at the end of the game. This allows you to have 2 swords on your turn, and you use it when you want to. And this big major secret gets you 1 boot, 1 sword, and 1 health to use whenever you like during the game. These will get mixed in with the secrets. You can also play with these even if you're not playing with the new board. This expansion comes with many new cards, one of which you'll put out near the goblin. If you remember, the goblin gets put out, and it's the monster that can get killed every round. We now have a goldfish that can get killed every round, but only if you're underwater. I'll go over this a little bit more detail in just a moment. The expansion comes with 35 new dungeon cards that can be added and shuffled into the main dungeon deck of the game before you start. Again, even if you're not using a new board, you can use these cards in the main dungeon deck. The new cards have some little waves in the action spot, so you can see that it's from the expansion. Not only do the new boards have different layouts, but they also have the underwater spaces, which is a big part of this expansion. Now there's some different rules with these underwater spots. First of all, anytime you move into one of these spots, you'll see these little stars here. So if you move from here to here, there's 2 stars. You would actually add 2 clank, because you're making extra noise, into the clank box. 1 for each of the stars that you may have moved through, making noise jumping into the water. Also, anytime you move from an underwater space to another underwater space, you'll see 2 boots and a flipper. What that means is by default, you need to use 2 boots to move from there to there. Unless at the market you bought one of the scubas. They're 5 points into the game, and it has the little flipper icon on there to help remind you about moving through water. Now if you have that scuba, you still have to spend 1 boot, but you don't have to spend the 2. Now also, if you're in any of these rooms here, if you'd like to use your swords to kill the monster, you can then spend 3 swords to defeat the goldfish while you're underwater and get 3 coins. Just like the goblin, you can do this as many times as you want, and these never go away. If you start your turn in any underwater space, and you do not at least move into a non-underwater space, you'll lose 1 health. Unless, of course, you have the scuba, then you can stay underwater. Many of the new cards have an action to discard. This is generally mandatory. So if you play this card, you would draw a new card, then you would discard a card into your discard pile without doing anything with that card. Same here, you would have to discard a card to get an extra boot. But you could purposely play this card last, and then when it says discard a card, well, you can't do that, but you'd get the ability. Other than that, the rest of the game is played just like the base game. Well, Clank was one of those deck building games that I actually really liked. I don't really like deck builders as a whole, but this is just like, hey, it's an element to the game. It's the main way you get cards, but you're going around. And so I loved the original aspect of this. And this is going to be basically for anybody who's really liked the game. This is kind of a no-brainer. It doesn't add a lot of rules, but it does add a lot of variability. I like that you can add all the cards and all the new tokens, regardless of if you're playing with the new board or not. So you're automatically going to get a ton of new cards mixed into the deck. It's even going to make the normal boards feel even different because you're going to have different cards to choose from, and it's going to give you different ways to go with your strategy. But you add those cool boards in, and then you get the new market pieces like the Scuba Kit, which is really cool because it's thematic and it makes sense. You're going underwater, you don't have to hold your breath, you can use the Scuba Kit, makes your move easier, allows you to stay underwater where all the cooler, the bigger and better artifacts are. I love the fact that when you jump into the water, you make clank, because it makes noise and it can hear you. And I love on that one side of the board, I'm not sure if I showed in the overview, but you jump from like a sewer cap all the way down through like a huge waterfall and it makes 3 clank because it's super loud. And I thought that was really cool. So I like the aspect. I like when you're underwater, it's better, but it's harder to stay there. I like that once you're there, you can kill the goldfish, over and over, which gives you a better reward than the goblin does. So I like it. If you've liked the game, this is a no-brainer. In my opinion, it makes the game better because it's more variable. Now you have 4 different sides of boards to play on. You've got a numerous amount of new cards, some new tokens, and some new rules to go on with new boards. Did not add complexity that much at all. It's still pretty much the same with just a few little rules, but it adds a lot to the experience. So if you like Clank, this one's kind of a no-brainer, and that's Clank Sunken Treasures.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for backing me on Kickstarter, making this season become a reality. I'd like to especially thank those here that have backed me at the credit level. Now, these video reviews are also available by audio on our podcast. It's the intros and the final thoughts on GameBoyGeek.com. Click podcast.